about my love. Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can.
It is Thursday once again. One of the best days of the week when it comes to football, because you get to come on YouTube and on all our other channels and catch Statisfaction. Nothing better than hearing all the numbers to back up what team's going to win and why. The most unique show, as I say every week, the most unique show on Thursday nights. Nobody else is bringing this to you the way we bring it to you. So we got a good game tonight. I want to thank everybody that was watching last week. We had one of our best responses ever on a Thursday night Statisfaction. Blew away the numbers that we usually bring in. So that is cool. We got two more after this. Next week, we have the Browns Bengals and then the Seahawks Bears. You definitely want to be here for the Seahawks Bears. That'll be my last weekly show that I'm doing before retiring from weekly shows. So you definitely want to be here for that one. And we have quite the game. Khalid, why don't you set this up for us and let us know what's going on?
Yes. Let's get into it, y'all. First of all, if you'll have any game predictions, score predictions, whatever it may be, for tonight's Thursday night football game between the Rams and the San Francisco 49ers, please drop them in the chat. We want to see who's here, what y'all think is going to happen. And, if anything changes based off of what we say, feel free to let us know, because I think that's the fun thing about these shows, these Statisfaction shows, is that we bring a lot of numbers that can potentially, bring to light some new information not everyone has access to. So with that being said, let's jump into this Thursday night football matchup between the home team in the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Los Angeles Rams. Not too far of a trip for this NFC West matchup. It's in Levi Stadium in San Francisco with a seating capacity of 68,500 seats.
Yes.
And not to mention, it includes 165 luxury suites and 8,500 club seats. So Levi Stadium, one of the best stadiums in the league, one of the nicest, luxury. If you want it, it's here.
Yeah,
and when you look at the average attendance compared to the seating capacity, 104.6% filled on average in 2023. That's 71,655 people on average.
Wow.
Very, very, very high. Great turnout for this Niners team that has been very successful over recent years. I mean, this is a team who has made Super Bowl appearances, plenty of NFC conference game appearances, and won this division many, many times under head coach Kyle Shanahan. Now, looking at the weather, it's projected to be a nice 52 degrees at kickoff, but a 36% chance of rain with winds up to 13 miles per hour and 92% humidity. So very humid out there, chance of rain, and you got a wind chill that'll make it feel closer to 48 degrees outside in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting night. I heard they've been getting a lot of rain out there, so I guess the rain's going to take a break for a little bit to get this game in. But if it does come under some type of a rain delay, hop on over to eastcoastgridiron.net. That is our website. You got to check out this website, people. You are missing a lot. My 9th article, yes, 9. I have written 9 articles. Khalid can attest to that. He's my proofreader. The 9th article, Sonic and Knuckles, the Detroit Lions dynamic running back duo, just went up this week. That's on the back of my 8th from a couple weeks ago, Turning the Corner in Philly. Eagles rise to the top. I have other ones in there. I'm not going to read them all to you. I got something on the Bears. I got something on the Vikings, on the Packers, on the Ravens, on the Steelers. So there is definitely something out there for most people. And just read a good article. They're not terribly long and they're pretty easy to understand. And yes, there are stats and numbers in each
Oh
one.
yeah.
Absolutely. The league also has a lot of stuff up on our website, and he's going to tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, so if you're big into college football, I have written weekly articles throughout this regular season called the Freshman 15. It outlines 15 standout freshmen from that week's slate of games. And now that the season's over, in the coming days, we're going to be releasing our ECG freshman All-American teams, an offensive and defensive article with graphics for each player, outlining their stats, how many snaps they played and where, as well as a little write-up on each player, kind of giving you some background info on, who they are, how they got to where they're at, as well as, maybe a little bit of a player profile, some scouting, right? So you can get an idea of what kind of player these guys are. And it helps give you some insight on who the next stars of college football are. So that way, come draft day in 2 or 3 years, you already know who those first-round picks are going to be, or that sleeper 3rd or 4th round pick who your team drafts. So be on the lookout for that Freshman 15 article. And, of course, I got to mention Dante, give him a shout-out for an article he's put out there that is a database that updates like by the hour with all of the names, positions, and schools of players who have declared for the NFL draft. That also includes if that specific player that you're looking for has committed to an all-star game, whether it be the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, or the East-West Shrine Bowl in Frisco, Texas, or even the Hula Bowl out in Orlando, Florida. No matter what it may be, we got a database of, I believe, over 400 players and counting now. So a lot of players there who have declared for the draft. If you want to break it down, search by school, search by position, search by all-star game, whatever it may be, we got filters for you. Dante set that up. Check out the website again, eastcoastgridiron.net. It's the place to be.
People, you are going to find different sports podcasts, especially football, that talk about draft when it comes time for the draft. But how many are scouting the freshmen and reporting on the freshmen during that freshman year so you know who they are before the other shows start talking about them in 2 or 3 years? You're not going to find that anywhere else. All right. How about the health of the players for this week?
Yeah, let's get into it. So first off, the 49ers have had a lot of injury problems and have a whole host of players who are currently on injured reserve. Wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. Offensive lineman John Feliciano and Ben Barch, right? Defensive tackle Javon Hargrave and Kevin Givens. Linebackers Curtis Robinson and Tatum Bethune. Strong safety George Odom and cornerbacks Daryl Luter and Ambry Thomas. Now, that also includes punter Mitch Wishnowsky. So some of those names maybe not the biggest names, and then you have the punter, right? But some notable players there like Feliciano and Ayuk. However, also for the 49ers, out due to injury, tackle Trent Williams, arguably the best in the business, out with an ankle injury, and safety standout Malik Mustafa is out with a shoulder and chest injury. Right, that's going to be something to monitor. And defensive tackle Khalil Davis has a knee injury; he will be out. Other inactives for the 49ers include cornerback Rocky Ya-Sin, quarterback Joshua Dobbs, and running back Israel Abanikanda, who was just picked up off of waivers from the Jets. Now, it is worthy to note, though, that rookie running back out of Louisville, Isaac Guerendo, who performed quite well in place of Christian McCaffrey last week, came into this weekend with an injury designation. He is available to play. He is active, and if he's in your fantasy lineups, like he is in mine, I suggest you leave him in. Also, two other big name players for the Niners who will be at Kyle Shanahan's disposal.
Yes.
Nick Bosa, defensive
back.
end,
Yep.
also one of the best in the league, and linebacker Dre Greenlaw will both be
Nice.
active for tonight. All three of those players, Garendo, Bosa, and Greenlaw being active is going to be a massive boost for this 49er team that has struggled with injuries, not even just this year, but in years past. So this is going to be, very important here to watch who's out on either side, which is why we're bringing this to you. But now let's focus on the opposite sideline with the Rams. The Rams are still going to be without tight end Tyler Higbee.
Correct.
As his knee injury is continuing to hold him out, and starting cornerback Kobe Durant will not be available either. So in Higbee's place, look out for backups Colby Parkinson, Hunter Long, and Davis Allen to, get in, not just in the rotation, but be able to contribute in the passing game. And with Kobe Durant out, the Rams are fortunate that Brandon Ayuk is not going to be available. However, Jawan Jennings has been on a tear as of late. So losing Kobe Durant, regardless of Ayuk's status, it's a little it eases the pain a little bit, but this is still going to be a tough matchup for this Rams secondary. Now, with that, right, you also have players who are listed on the injury report. There hasn't been anything final that I have found submitted for the Rams yet. So I'll list you the players who are currently questionable. You have defensive end Tyler Davis dealing with a calf injury. Rookie wide receiver from the University of Texas, Jordan Whittington, is out with a shoulder injury. And fellow receiver Jamarcus Robinson also out with a shoulder injury. And one of those backup tight ends, Davis Allen, also dealing with a shoulder injury. Now, you have two offensive linemen to top off the list, and center Bo Limmer and Alaric Jackson, both of whom are dealing with knee injuries for this Rams team. You have a few nicks here and there, but mostly role players or backups for the Rams here who are questionable going into tonight's slate of games. It's really just going to be the Higbee and Durant injuries that are really going to hinder this Rams team going forward tonight.
Right. Well, I imagine since these two teams are so close to each other, not only in standings from time to time, I kind of believe they've played a few times in the past, haven't they?
Oh, they sure have. Yes. And, we're going to include the statistics here from, when this Rams franchise was in St. Louis, right? While they were in St. Louis, obviously not as close to San Francisco, but they were both still division rivals when, as they're both a part of the NFC West. These two teams have played 151 total times per the football database, and it's a pretty close series. But the San Francisco 49ers lead 78-70 with 3 ties between the two teams. However, the San Francisco 49ers are 36-38. With 1 tie at home.
Wow.
So this Rams franchise has a better record in San Francisco than they do as the home team. Whether that's in St. Louis or in Los Angeles, the Niners seemingly at home is playing at home as a disadvantage, right? So you hardly ever see that, much less for division rivals. But I think that is probably one of the more interesting things to watch here, especially with the Niners being as dominant as they have been in years past, but this year maybe a little bit down.
All righty. Well, it could be a pretty interesting matchup. We got some numbers for you from NFL.com. And this is just the basics. The Rams, 7-6 on the season. And as an away team, they're 3-3. The 49ers, they're 6-7. And as a home team, 4-3. So records are very close, and the home and away records are very close. Nobody really has a huge edge here. How about the offense and the defense? Well, according to ESPN, the Rams offense Average offensive yards per game, they're ranked 15th. Average passing yards per game, they're ranked 9th. But as good as Kyron Williams is, average rushing yards offense per game, they are 25th.
Hmm.
And they average 23 points per game. Flipping over to the 49ers, average offensive yards per game overall, yeah, they're higher than 15th. They are 4th. Passing, they are ranked 7th. Rushing, they are ranked 7th. And they are averaging 24 points per game. So that's kind of interesting that each team is within 1 point of what they average for their offensive output. Maybe it changes on the defense. Let's see. Rams, average defensive yards allowed per game. Overall, the team is ranked 27th, so they give up a lot of yards.
Ooh.
Passing, they're ranked 24th, and rushing 28th. So teams can put up a lot of yards on them rushing or passing, and they're allowing 25 points per game. 49ers, on the other hand, overall, the defensive yards allowed, they are ranked 3rd, very stingy. Passing is 3rd, but rushing is 12th, and they're allowing 24 points per game. All right. Now, let me just tell you off the top of my head, if this is the only thing I would see tonight, Rams average 23, allow 25, Niners are 24 and 24. I would really strongly consider saying there is a strong chance for a tie tonight.
Yeah, and I'm just surprised that there's such a similarity in terms of the offensive and defensive points for both sides, but such a massive discrepancy between the yardage totals for offense and defense by both teams. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. The 49ers being top 4 in both offensive and defensive yards per game, and the Rams being outside the top 15 in both categories, but both of them are only separated by 1 point on either side of the ball. It's crazy to me. Crazy.
Yes, absolutely. Well, how about the week? This is week 15.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something in numerology gives one of them the advantage here. The Rams in week 15 games over the past 5 years are 2-3. 49ers are 3-2. Nothing there. How about on Thursday night? Maybe something about Thursday speaks to one or the other here. Over the last 5 years, the Rams are 5-1 on Thursday nights, and when they're on the road, they are undefeated 1-0. The 49ers on Thursday nights are 4-2. As a home team, they are 1-1. So, once again, no big difference between the two teams in numerology as far as the day of the week or the week of the season. Let's see if we can get some separation in a couple of the key matchups that Khalid is going to give you for tonight.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed setting up these matchups here. There are a lot of very similar stats, and then there are some others that are quite different.
Yes.
So we're going to start with the quarterbacks here. Matt Stafford, arguably an all-time talent, who has a Super Bowl to his name after his trade to the Rams, and Brock Purdy, the young guy who has developed into one of the better quarterbacks in this league and has seen a lot of success this early on in his career, and he's also fighting for a payday.
Yeah.
But let's break it down, the numbers between these two guys. First, pressure to sack rate. How often are you sacked when you are pressured? Brock Purdy, 14.7%. Matt Stafford, 19.2%. big discrepancy there. So Brock Purdy much better at evading pressure, avoiding the sack, either scrambling for a first down, throwing it out of bounds, or completing a pass downfield. That makes sense, right? Purdy is known for being able to be mobile, take off with his legs, scramble, whatever it may be. Matt Stafford, right? He's past his running days, let's just say. Not to say that he can't move, but I mean, there is a difference in how these two can play in terms of their mobility. And this one, I was so shocked that it was so close, but the completion percentage, Matt Stafford 66.7%, and Brock Purdy 66.8%. That's like as close as it gets.
Yeah.
So I mean, very surprised it was just that close, but both of them, completing passes at a very solid rate. And now the average depth of target, this is going to tell us how far downfield on average are these quarterbacks, throwing the football, completed or not. Brock Purdy, 9.2 yards downfield. Matt Stafford, 8.3. So Brock Purdy is pushing the ball downfield a little bit more.
Just a little.
When you think about Matt Stafford and who his weapons are, and we'll get into this with the wide receivers later, but having Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, right? Those are two elite yards after catch guys. Elite. Great with the ball in their hands. They'll make guys miss. They'll find soft spots in zones and be able to get extra yardage from there. So it makes sense with the offense, right? And you got to think, too, with Brock Purdy not having Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel kind of struggling right now, it makes sense that, he's probably having to push the ball a little bit farther downfield in order to keep this offense churning. Now, let's look at the running backs. Kyren Williams, been the starter all year long. Isaac Guerendo, going into his second start of the season, I believe. He's contributed at times this season, rotated in for Jordan Mason earlier on, but now the backfield is his as long as his ankle injury, which isn't preventing him from playing tonight, but as long as it doesn't hinder his ability to be effective, he should see the boatload of carries. Break it down by touchdowns. Kyren Williams has 12 this season. Isaac Guerendo, 4. I'd say that's pretty impressive for Guerendo.
Good. Yeah.
I got to give it to him. That's impressive.
Absolutely.
Yards after contact here. Kyren Williams, 678. Quite a lot.
Yeah.
Isaac Guerendo.
This has got to be good.
It is 187.
Right.
Not anywhere close to where Kyren Williams is at. However, Guerendo is averaging 3.28 yards after contact per attempt.
Okay.
Which, when compared to Kyren Williams' rate of 2.7 yards after contact per attempt, is half a yard more after contact per carry. So, obviously Kyren Williams has far more yards after contact, but that's only because he has that many more carries.
Correct.
And we're going to see more this trend of Guerendo having more efficiency. And this next stat is straight up yards per carry, with Guerendo averaging 5.7 yards per carry, an elite clip, compared to Kyren Williams, who's at 4 flat. So Williams has not been efficient. He's just seen a lot of total carries, while Guerendo making the most of what he's been given. 5.7 yards per carry is an elite figure to be at. And, it shows that the yards after contact average difference between these two players really isn't a fluke, right? It's not skewed by anything. It's consistent, right? Consistently, Isaac Guerendo is more efficient than Kyren Williams. With both getting a starting workload, I do expect Isaac Guerendo to outperform Kyren Williams, especially with the rank that this Rams rushing defense has, 28th in the league. Isaac Guerendo should have a great game tonight, assuming that ankle doesn't really hinder him. Now let's get to the passing game. The wide receivers, Puka Nacua and Jawan Jennings. Jennings been on fire lately. Let's look at the numbers, though. The yards after catch, Jennings 199 to Puka Nacua's 358. Again, remember Puka Nacua has not only been like this at the starter, a starter the entire year, even with even with Cooper Kupp, right? At times Nacua overshadows Cooper Kupp. Jawan Jennings, right? He was a clear-cut number 3, or I guess, number 3 behind Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and is now really emerging as a 1 with Ayuk on IR, with Deebo Samuel struggling.
Exactly.
And Ricky Pearsall is now healthy and he's contributing, but Jawan Jennings seems to be more of the guy.
Yep.
Catch percentage, though, very similar here. 74% flat for Jawan Jennings and right on the dot, 73% for Puka Nacua. So both of them consistent and not much of a difference between these two players. The average depth of target, Jawan Jennings targeted downfield slightly more, 10.4 yards downfield on average compared to Puka Nacua's 9.1. So, again, it makes sense when you watch the Rams play, when you know how they operate, especially with Puka Nacua, who is so good after the catch. He isn't going to be getting the ball as far downfield as maybe Jawan Jennings, but we know that Puka Nacua is very capable of bringing those passes in deep downfield. He made an incredible catch this past weekend on the sideline. Potentially more of that with Kobe Bryant out for the Rams.
Right.
The tight ends now. Colby Parkinson for the Rams, back up to Tyler Higbee, and George Kittle, one of the best in the biz. Parkinson, after the catch, 142 yards, and George Kittle, 360. Now, don't get it twisted, though. George Kittle has far more receptions this season than Colby Parkinson does, with Parkinson having Parkinson has 27 receptions and 40 targets. George Kittle has more receptions than Parkinson just has targets. Kittle has 56 receptions and 800 total yards. Parkinson has 267 yards. So George Kittle, after the catch, has more production than Parkinson does in total. That's just more of a volume thing rather than an inefficiency problem.
Correct.
But the catch percentage, this is actually really surprising considering how little Colby Parkinson is targeted and the average depth of target, which we'll get to in a second here. Parkinson's catch percentage is 67.5%. George Kittle's 84.8%. George Kittle is miles ahead of Parkinson in terms of reliability. And when you add in the average depth of target, it's even more confusing because Kittle is targeted on average 2.6 yards more downfield than Parkinson. Kittle's average depth of target, 8.7 yards downfield to Colby Parkinson's 6.1. So not only is Kittle being targeted further downfield, but he has a 17.3% increase in terms of catching the football over Parkinson. So he's that much more likely to catch it and is farther downfield. That just tells you the talent George Kittle is. And Colby Parkinson, right? He is a backup. He's more of a blocking type, but he is called upon in the passing game. It's clear that this Rams offense is missing Tyler Higbee so far this season. Yeah.
And you're going to hear a little bit more about that in the next segment here.
Mm-hmm.
From NFL.com Fantasy. This is definitely someplace you can do your fantasy football through. Some people do. We are going to break down a starting lineup of players on each team, tell you where they are ranked fantasy-wise for this week only, and what their projected point total is this week only, just to get a fair comparison to maybe give us a clue in the fantasy world which team's better tonight. So we'll start with the visiting Rams and quarterback Matt Stafford, who is ranked quarterback number 25. Blew my mind. Only projected
Wow.
to get 14.35 fantasy points. I guess they anticipated Nick Bosa being back. Kyron Williams, the running back, he is listed at running back 15. I've had him on my fantasy teams before, a touchdown machine. Love him. He's projected to get 14.53. Puka Nacua, wide receiver number 3. Now, he's wide receiver 3, but his quarterback's 25. Go figure. 16.96 and the highest points for his team. At tight end, yes, we talked about Colby Parkinson. He doesn't play a lot, so he's not up there. He is listed as tight end 51 and only projected to get 2.43 points. Joshua Carty is the kicker, and he's ranked 22nd this week, projected to get 7.17 points. The flex being the next highest offensive output player would be Cooper Kupp, who's listed as wide receiver 9. That would be 15.54 points. In the Rams defense, yeah, we told you they were pretty bad, giving up a lot of yards, rushing and passing. They are defense 30 this week, projected at 4.91. So that lineup of Rams, if they hit exactly on their projections, 75.89. Let's flip over to the 49ers. Quarterback Brock Purdy is listed as quarterback 7 this week and projected to get 17.35 points. Isaac Guerendo is running back 8. That's not bad. Running back 8. Projected 13.52. We talked about Juwan Jennings, how he's been picking up for the receiver difficulties and injuries. He's at wide receiver 18, projected to get 13.97. Mr. Reliability with catch percentage, George Kittle at tight end. He is listed as tight end number 2 this week. I smell touchdown for Kittle.
Oh, yeah.
14.4. Kicker Jake Moody is kicker number 3 in the rankings this week, projected to get 8.62. The next highest output on offense for a flex player would be Deebo Samuel. He is wide receiver 40 and projected to get 10.76. The Niners defense is listed at defense number 17, projected to get 5.45. So we're talking 84.07. So about 8 points higher. Still not a lot. It really isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, one touchdown here or there, and those fantasy points are pretty close. All right. One of my favorite segments now, the betting trends. We got 2 sources for this, Sports Betting Dime, and for them, we have the spread. I saw the spread tonight increased on one site, but when I pulled this, the 49ers were favored by 2.5. I saw that went up to 3. Over under 48.5. I've seen it 48, 48.5, and 49. So in that range. But it's always wise to follow the money. Let's see what the money's doing. For the spread, that 2.5, 69% of the public bets are taking the Rams and the points. And 75% of all the public money bet are taking the Rams plus the points. So, close game. On the money line, straight up, no points. 62% of the bets are on the 49ers to win even up. But follow the money. 84% of the money is bet on the Rams.
Ooh. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I do like taking the Rams plus the points. I do think it's going to be a close game. Let's take a look at Odd Sharks. I love Odd Sharks. Their trends are fantastic. I have changed picks because of trends that they give. The Rams are 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 Thursday games. But they are 1-4 straight up in their last 5 road games against the Niners. So their last 5 road games against the Niners, they aren't doing well straight up. But on Thursday against the spread, plus the points, minus the points, they're doing very well. 49ers, they are 4-1 straight up in their last 5 home games versus the Rams. Just a reverse of what I told you earlier. Wanted you to see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But they are 4-10 against the spread in their last 14 games at home. They do not cover the spread at home very often. That is not a good trend.
No.
I'm telling you, man, I like a close game. I like a potential tie, and I like the Rams plus the points. Crazy, crazy, crazy. That's what this is telling me so far. All right. If you were going to wager some money on this game tonight in different ways, we have some samples for you.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just samples. We're not saying take these and go bet. We're not taking these to go bet. We may take a couple of them, don't know. But we are not encouraging it for anybody. This is just public information. Khalid, let them know what we got.
Yeah, so like Don said, these are, it's just putting these bets out there so you know, like maybe what $20 could get you, according to Bet ESPN. $20. Let's start with some of the Rams stuff. $20 on Matt Stafford to have 3 or more passing touchdowns will pay out $65. Puka Nacua to have 2 or more anytime touchdowns, $150. Kyren Williams for 2 or more anytime touchdowns will get you $92, and $20 down on Colby Parkinson
for one.
To have an anytime touchdown, just one, $130. Not often you see a starting tight end have such a large payout for one anytime touchdown.
Right.
As we'll see coming up here with the 49ers, George Kittle to have 2 anytime touchdowns, so double, is $200. That just shows you how much more likely it is that Kittle just gets a touchdown in general.
Right.
Brock Purdy, $20 down for 3 or more passing touchdowns will get you $75. Isaac Guerrero having 2 or more touchdowns, $80. And $20 on rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall to have 30 or more receiving yards, $65.
Sore is all over that one.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
Okay. Some of those are pretty tempting. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at what it costs to go to the game. Maybe not tonight with the rain, but if you go to Levi's Stadium for a 49ers game, this is what you can expect to pay. And this is from the goodness of Adam Thompson from bookies.com, who compiles this information every year. I bother him every year and say, man, the season's starting in 2 weeks, man. You got the numbers for me yet? Not yet. I'm still waiting. I'll get it. He's a good guy. All right. This cost is for 4 of the cheapest tickets, for lot parking, for 2 16-ounce beer, 2 20-ounce sodas, 4 hot dogs. So it's for your family.
Mm-hmm.
The cost for all that together $1,137.31. That is the fifth highest package in the NFL. The fifth highest. Well, let's see what else they can charge us for. The ticket price only for those 4 cheap tickets. Cheap. Remember, cheap tickets. $951.56. That is the 7th highest ticket price for 4 seats in the NFL. Lot parking.
Oh, no.
Lot parking for the Niners. $105.75. That is the highest in the NFL. It would be cheaper to parachute in and land on the field. $105.75 to park. Man, drop me off and I'll walk. Not paying that. Just one beer, one 16-ounce beer, $14. And that is tied for the 4th highest price. One 20-ounce soda, not a 6-pack, just one, $8. That is also tied for 4th. And one hot dog, one, not a package, not 4, not 2, but one hot dog, $9. And that is also 4th highest. So a beer, a soda, and a dog, all 4th highest prices in the NFL. Make sure it's a payday when you go to Levi Stadium, because you're going to spend some money if you're getting concessions. But Khalid's going to tell us about some good food they have there besides the basics.
Guys, I was looking into this before I ate dinner a couple hours ago, so I was hungry. I was literally sitting there like looking at this website, and I was like, my mouth was watering. Oh my goodness. Well, this first one was just different, so I just put it out there before we get to the really good stuff. But at the Federalist in section 102, they offer charcuterie trays. I've never seen charcuterie of any type at a football game.
Wow.
So I was just like, this is different. I like it. Why? Because it's different. And it caters to so many people, right? If you're bringing, the girlfriend or like your wife or whatever, like, get them a charcuterie board. That'll be nice. They'll like that. And if you want one for yourself, go ham. You know what I mean? So really like that addition. And around the stadium in multiple locations, not only do they just have, hot dogs, right? Don, you give the stats on the hot dog prices at each stadium. They have officially licensed Nathan's Famous hot dogs. And if there are any hot dog enthusiasts out there, or you just, Nathan's hot dogs.
Yes, that's what's in my fridge.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Like, to me, that's excellent, right? Because you can get hot dogs anywhere, but if I hear Nathan's, I'm like, oh, where? I want some. So, yes, Nathan's Hot Dogs has locations at Levi's Stadium. Now, if you're feeling a little bit more sophisticated, right? Not just, you're not thinking like necessarily like stadium food. End Zone Eats, multiple locations, but has one specifically in section 106. They have a tri-tip steak sandwich.
Ooh.
I love steak. I love tri-tip. It's actually a really good deal at Costco generally, I will say. But a tri-tip steak sandwich sounds incredible. It sounded incredible when I was looking at this. I have yet to see a tri-tip sandwich at another stadium that we've covered so far. And this next thing at Mesquite and Oak was also a little unique, and that's a pastrami burger. I love pastrami. And so to have a pastrami burger was a little different, right? Because I've seen pastrami sandwiches. I've had them before. I think I've seen them at some of these stadiums, but a pastrami burger, I'm like, either they're just calling a pastrami sandwich a burger, or they're doing something that I want to try. That sounds good. But however you chop it up, man, pastrami sandwiches, tri-tip sandwiches, Nathan's hot dogs and a charcuterie tray, Levi's Stadium has got some very diverse options. And man, I really enjoyed looking at the options here in San Francisco.
That's cool. That is pretty cool. I like the sound of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now for the big moment where we give you our winner for tonight's game. And we try to throw in a bold prediction of sorts. Well, mine's not cut and dry, but I mean, I really like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams. I think these guys are going to do well tonight as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that the Niners are playing against a defense that's not that great, rushing or passing. So I think this score is going to be elevated. I won't say a huge shootout, but I think it's a close game. And I got the Niners taking the game by 1.
Ooh, by 1.
All the numbers tell me it's going to be close. I'm not going to say overtime, by 1, which also enables somebody taking the Rams plus the points to win. So I got the Niners by 1. And my bold prediction, I think that we are going to see Mr. Kittle with 2 touchdowns tonight, and I think you're going to see Puka with 2 touchdowns tonight.
Okay. We actually, funny enough, we have very, I guess, similar styles of our bold predictions here. So that's pretty funny. I would love that too, as a proud Puka Nacua fantasy owner.
Yes.
In week 1 of the playoffs. And I guess a little side note here, Puka Nacua is one of my favorite players in the league, not just because he's talented, but this is a guy who, before he burst onto the scene last year for the Rams, the guy I drafted in my rookie draft of in my dynasty fantasy league.
Nice.
Because I had him in my college league. So I'm like, I recognize this guy Puka Nacua out of BYU. He's legit. And obviously I couldn't have predicted that he would become a legit star wide receiver, but it was one of those things where, in fantasy leagues, like all over the place, it's like the race on the waiver wire to pick up Puka Nacua. Who is this guy? And in my league, it was, Khalid's already got him. And I'm very proud of that. But I'm rocking with the 49ers tonight. I think that, especially the way that they really dominated Chicago, right? They didn't give them much of a chance last week. And just, you look at the offensive and defensive breakdown in terms of yardage. The Niners are more dominant, even if the points don't say that, right? Which ultimately is what matters. But I think that San Francisco is going to have an easy time moving the ball. And I think they'll be able to limit Los Angeles enough to get a win here. But I don't think it's going to be by many, just like you. I have this game being 27-24 in favor of the 49ers. So a 3-point game.
Okay.
But my bold prediction was that both Kyron Williams and Isaac Orendo would have at least 2 touchdowns apiece.
Yep. I can see that happening. Absolutely.
I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be by land this week for both teams here as they try to punch it into the end zone. Kyron Williams used a lot as a goal line guy. So
yep. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. Well, that is our show for tonight. Appreciate anybody who's been watching. Not anybody jumping in the comments tonight, but that's okay. Comments were off the charts last week. This happens. Yeah. But you can watch it on the repeat if you didn't catch it live, and we're glad you're doing that too. And since this show is all about numbers and stats, Khalid, do you want to sign off with our normal sign off and tell them to have a good game? Give you a chance to say it.
Let's do it, y'all. Ahead of this Thursday night football game between the Los Angeles Rams and San Francisco 49ers. We hope that some of these numbers provided insight, potentially changed some opinions going into this game. But regardless of your team's affiliation and if they are playing tonight, remember this. Numbers may not teach us to add love or subtract hate, but they give us hope that every problem has a solution. So have a great night, y'all, and enjoy the game.
Yes.